He sat there staring straight ahead. He wasn't moving. He wasn't looking at me, just staring out the window. I thought about our life together, 13 years together. All the incredible experiences we had had together, the 2 children that we had, the adventures that we had gone on. And I wondered, what are we doing here, sitting up at the top of a mountain that he drove me up to in the middle of the night? What is going on? The past couple of years, we had been unraveling, falling apart in our relationship. I don't know how it started, but I started to feel that there was something going on, something missing, something that I didn't understand. He would be gone for long periods of time and come up with stories that didn't make really much sense to me. He was very on edge a lot of the time. And I didn't know what that was all about because nothing seemed to be going on in our relationship that way. And he was pulling away from me, not talking to me as he had before in the past. We weren't sitting down having conversations about how we felt and what was going on for us and what we saw for the future. And it kept unraveling our relationship like this. Sex was not so great, and I felt lonely. And I felt left out. I felt abandoned emotionally. So now here we're sitting at the top of a hill in the dark, and he hasn't talked to me all the way up, the drive all the way up, even though I've asked him, what's going on? What's going on? Nothing. He's just sitting there staring out the window. So I take some breaths and I'm just waiting. And then he says, and then he turns to me and looks at me very seriously and says, I have something to tell you. So he's looking at me intently. There's something I have to tell you. And I look at him and we sit there for, it feels like an hour, just looking at each other. I'm like, what? What is it? Tell me, tell me. I see him take 2 big breaths. Like, oh my God, this is it. This is over. Our relationship is over. It's finished. We're finished. And then he says, I've been exploring with men. I've been exploring my bisexual side behind your back. I look at him in like complete shock. 2 years runs back in my head. 2 years of all of the times that I felt like something was wrong. Like, why wasn't he back in time? Where was he for so long? What was going on? Those kind of reasons that he gave me that didn't make sense. All the feelings I had in myself inside of me just rushed up. And I was like, what the? Holy shit. Oh my God, now it makes sense. It makes sense. It makes sense. I was ready to burst into tears that finally the information had come out, that it was clear that there was a reason for all of this weirdness, this inability to connect, this low level of intimacy that we were having. This was it. It was such a relief to hear it. It was such a relief. I cannot even tell you. It was just like a huge boulder had been lifted from my back. And although I was in shock because I did not expect this, I thought, geez, now I know. Now I know. After a few minutes of silence, or maybe it was more, I don't know, time just didn't seem to exist at that moment, I said, okay, I have so many questions. Who were you with? When were you with this person? When did it happen? How many people were you with? How long did it last? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you talk to me about this? Why didn't you Why didn't you tell me what was going on? We could finally talk. We could finally talk. And the bubble had been burst. A bubble that was, it's like a balloon that was so expanded and so tight. It had been burst. And we could talk now. We could have a conversation. And yes, I was angry. I was livid. I was shocked. There were so many emotions about what he told me running through me. But the biggest emotion that was the biggest emotion I had was that I felt relief. Not only relief that he had told me, because now I knew what was really going on, but relief that I could now talk to him. I could expose what I was really feeling, because I was holding in my own feelings. I was holding in my own desires. We'd been together for 12 years. Lots of things had happened, and we had had sex thousands of times, this sort of similar kind of sex. And I was feeling like there must be more. There must be something else. Is there anything else that we can do? What I would like to explore, maybe, and with some other people, or maybe just the two of us doing something different. And we had actually talked about a possibility of going to a sex club, and well, could we do that now? So there was just so many things within inside of me that I had held back talking to him about for those couple of years in particular, because we were just not talking, and he was pulling away. So now I knew. And this was a revelation for our relationship. It was a game changer, an absolute game changer. We were not anymore a monogamous, heterosexual. We were a long-term relationship at this moment. We were not heterosexual, and we were not monogamous anymore. And I thought, wow, we are now a non-monogamous bisexual couple. He's bisexual. And what did that mean? What were we going to do? What was going to be the next step? So it took a couple of weeks of lots of conversation, lots of exposing each other, lots of questions, deep questions. I am a very curious person, and I want to know the details. I want to know everything. And I think it's really important in any relationship that you ask questions, that you're curious, that you find out what's going on, that you dig deeper and deeper. And more became exposed, and more became evident. And the strangest thing that was happening was that we were having the best sex that we had ever had. It wasn't the kind of sex that we had had up to this point, where we were trying to figure each other out. We were doing the same kind of thing. We were holding on to our fears around the kind of desires that we had. It wasn't the kind of sex that we were really in an excellent mood at all. We were in a very difficult place trying to figure out what we were going to do next. I was trying to figure out, am I staying with this man who has basically lied to me for a couple of years about what he's doing in his sexual life? Or are we going to stay together and move forward? How? In what way? I don't know. And he was in a place of even bigger relief, because he had held on to this secret for a long time. And he felt freer. And he knew what he wanted. He knew he wanted to continue to explore in some way. He didn't know. What he didn't know was whether I was going to stay with him on this journey or not. And that was a fear that he had. So after a few weeks and of lots of deliberation, because I can't sit in the mud. I just can't sit in the mud. Raining out now. Cleansing is happening. I decided I'm going to stay with him. Yeah. I love him. I love him so much. Like, deep in my heart, I love this man. We had 2 children. We had a great life. So many ways. I love him deeply. I'm going to stay with him, and we're going to make this work. I I want to explore too. And now we have the potential to explore together and be more open and be more honest about who we are and what our desires are. So I told him, I want to stay with you. So I told him, let's go for dinner tonight, somewhere quiet, somewhere where we can have a conversation. I have something to tell you. And he looked at me, eyes wide open. Okay. Okay. Now, again, don't miss out on my opportunity. I'm always putting a little sales pitch in here because this is my life. This is my profession. I talk about my experiences and I help hundreds of people from all over the world in their own this personal discovery and exploration of their own body, their sexual body, and their connection with their partner. It's a passion of mine. I love to help people find that joy, find that freedom in their bodies, in their connection. So that's why I'm offering this special deal right now. And if you are at all in a place where you just need to get change happening, get this 4 discounted sessions plus 2 bonus sessions. That's 6 sessions for less than 4. You have to purchase it today, the 26th of December. It has to be purchased today by midnight, your time. And then you can book any time until the end of January for your first session. So I'm giving you a lot of space, but I want you to commit because I am here full on ready to help you. I've had a number of people already sign up and I have a few spaces left and it might be you. I'd love to have you. First link in the description below. So we go for dinner that night. We find a nice quiet place, sit in the back corner, the two of us, where we go there very quietly. We enter very quietly. He's very quiet. He doesn't know what to expect. He thinks this is the end. But I've made up my mind. I have to move on. I have to get out of my head of thinking about where was he, what was he doing, what's going to happen, why did he do this, he's there at this time. It was driving me absolutely nuts. And now I knew what direction I wanted to go. I knew deep in my body, and I was ready to commit to that direction to see what would happen. So we're sitting there, and I said, I've got to tell you something now. He's like, okay, I'm ready for it. Since you have been exploring your sexuality for the last couple of years and, cheating behind my back, that hurts. That does hurt. That you didn't confide in me, it really hurts. And it's going to take me a while to trust you again. But the fact that you've been exploring and that we are explorers, the two of us. We're explorers. And I love that about you. And I love so many other things about you. And I love our life and our children. And I think we can have an incredible next chapter in our relationship. And I want to stay together. And I want us to open our relationship. He just sat there in absolute shock. And he's, oh my God, I didn't expect that. I did not expect you to say that. I thought you were going to leave me. But I'm so happy to hear that. This is incredible. I said, yes, it's incredible. I'm an incredible woman. What can I say? So that's how that little time in our life happened. And from that point, we were able to now decide and talk about what does that mean, open the relationship. We had no idea what that meant, what we were going to do. But I did know that this threesome was a possibility because I wanted to be there with him on his exploring. And it gave me the opportunity to explore myself with other people and with him there. So I thought, this sounds like a win-win situation. I don't know. It sounds exciting. Maybe we can try it out. I hope you enjoyed this little story about a very, very important profound turning point in my life. And I hope you have an incredible end of 2024, December 2024. It's been an incredible year, and 2025 is going to be even better, people. Let's go. Let's learn about ourselves, and let's become those beings that we've always wanted to become, and open up our hearts and our lives. Thank you so much for being a supporter. If you want deeper, more intimate type stories, and you want more of my stories, join my Patreon account. That's where you can find those. Thank you so much. Much love making.